10, Wisconsin's spring primary is fast approaching. We'll take a look at where the candidates for the Department of Public Instruction's top officials stand. And suing the Trump administration, why Wisconsin's Attorney General says life-saving research could be at risk. Plus, funding local art initiatives, the thousands of dollars heading to children's theater programs in Madison. That is all coming up on News 3 Now at 10. Good evening, and thanks for joining us, everyone. I'm Sarah Carlson. Eric Franke is off tonight. We start with a look at your forecast with some snow coming to southern Wisconsin. And there are alert days later this week. Meteorologist Blaze Keller has more from the patio. Not snow now, but pretty soon.
Yeah, maybe some light snow tonight, but obviously the main focus is going to be that alert day Wednesday. We are anticipating maybe the heaviest snow of the season so far, with most of southern Wisconsin forecast to at least pick up 3 inches of what will likely be a wet, heavy snow. Not only is this system coming out of the deep south, but it will also pull off some moisture out of Lake Michigan. So we could be also dealing with some lake effect snow as well. We're looking at 6 p.m. on a Wednesday, and all of our models are predicting a lot of that snow across central and southern Wisconsin. It's not really just isolated to southeastern parts of the state, but that is likely where we will see the highest accumulation. Where we find that dark blue. That's going to be where most of that lake effect snow will fall, but anywhere between 3 to 6 inches of snow for most of the News 3 Now coverage area, and then further north and west we get to about that 1 to 3 inch mark. Some of our latest model data is suggesting some drier air, which I don't necessarily agree with given that the system is coming out of the south and pulling moisture off of the lake, but we'll talk about that in the full forecast. We do find that winter storm watch in effect for a couple of counties closer to Lake Michigan. That's also where we find that moderate impact threat from this latest winter storm. Everybody else is underneath minor threats for now. Single digits and teens tonight. We're going to dive deeper into this Wednesday system and see where the snow is currently falling tonight in the full forecast.
Tomorrow marks 1 week until the spring election primary. That's where voters will see races like state superintendent on the ballot. In a week, the race to become the Department of Public Instruction's top official will narrow to just 2 candidates. Our Ellie LaLiberte shows you where each of the 3 stand on the hot issues in the race.
Over the past 3 weeks, I've sat down with each candidate vying to be Wisconsin's top education official. Incumbent Jill Underly, Sauk Prairie Superintendent Jeff Wright, and education consultant Brittany Kinzer. So where do they stand on key issues? Well, arguably one of the top issues in the race is testing standards. Last summer, Underly's administration made the controversial move to change the benchmark for the statewide test. This means schools can appear to be improving even if their scores are staying the same. But Underly claims the change is more accurate than the previously used national standards.
But if we're going to spend the time that we are spending on assessing kids, let's make that assessment mean something, and let's be able to interpret the results fairly.
Both of her challenges are critical of the move, Wright saying it makes it harder to examine student progress following the pandemic.
So the timing was really unfortunate. I think that was a mistake.
For Kinzer, high standards are a focal point of her campaign.
We don't want to lower them like they are right now, because we know, and I know, that when we set expectations high for kids, they can meet that.
What about funding? Well, this year, voters approved a record number of referenda to help districts pay for things like operations and facilities. Madison voters approved the largest in the state this past November.
It's time for us to revise that formula so that we don't have to rely so much on property taxes.
I don't have the jurisdiction over local districts, so if they want to go to referendum and their communities vote yes, then that's what they can do.
Our legislature has expanded and put more funding into school privatization or vouchers. And in urban school districts like Madison, large school districts, it's millions of dollars every year that are coming out of our public school budgets.
I also asked each candidate about teacher retention and recruitment. According to a report released by DPI last April, 40% of first-year teachers are leaving the state or profession altogether in their first 6 years. Here's how each candidate plans to combat that.
We have to be able to find ways, pathways, that other states have also implemented to ensure that we can attract and retain our teachers.
Underly has requested nearly $60 million just for retention and recruitment in her recent budget proposal.
Paying student teachers. We also want to expand teacher apprenticeship programs and other innovative ways like grow your own programs.
Wright has a similar methodology.
I also think that incentivizing people to stay in Wisconsin after earning those educator degrees, maybe through some loan forgiveness for school loans, that In our district, we've partnered with other districts in our area to do a Grow Your Own program.
If you want to learn more about each candidate before heading to the polls in a week, we have all 3 profiles up right now on channel3000.com.
Okay, thank you, Ellie. DPI superintendent is a nonpartisan role technically, but Underly is backed by the state's Democratic Party. Wright is backed by the Association of Wisconsin School Administrators. However, he did run as a Democrat during a 2018 state assembly bid. Kinzer is largely considered the conservative candidate, but when asked at a week forum last week, she did not claim that affiliation. Well, Maple Bluff arrested a man who they said armed himself during a standoff early this morning. Police say the incident stemmed from a traffic stop just before midnight near North Sherman Avenue. According to officers, the suspect was armed with a hatchet, something a neighbor says he firsthand saw from his home.
The mask, they just moved on him, and he ended up running, and they ran after him, and it was a matter of seconds at most. They tackled him on our side of the street here and kind of wrestled him to the ground.
The man's name was not released and he was booked into the Dane County Jail. The driver allegedly had 4 active warrants for his arrest, and he now faces new charges of eluding, resisting, battery to law enforcement, failure to comply, and bail jumping. A 22-year-old Grant County correctional officer is dead after being hit by a vehicle in Illinois over the weekend. On Saturday, Officer Dylan Bellamy was walking along a highway near Mattoon, Illinois, when he was hit. Bellamy was on a training weekend for the Army National Guard. This crash is under investigation, and the sheriff says Bellamy was a bright young man with a great future at the office.
So the administration has made this decision abruptly with very little notice. It's made it without much thought. And we have already seen universities, including here in Wisconsin, talk about the damage that this will cause to Wisconsinites and to the advancement of research that can help save people's lives and help with our health and well-being.
Today, a federal judge filed a restraining order blocking the Trump administration from freezing NIH funding headed to research centers. Now, Wisconsin, along with 21 other states, is suing the Trump administration over funding cuts at the National Institutes of Health. The coalition is challenging the administration's attempt to cut indirect cost reimbursements at every research institution throughout the country. These reimbursements cover expenses like faculty, infrastructure, and utility costs. The coalition argues that without these, life-saving medical research in the U.S. could be compromised. Well, if you own an electric car, there may be some roadblocks ahead for getting your battery charged. The Trump administration put a pause on the national program that was building EV charging stations. Our Merrill Hubbard spoke with local EV experts to see how this pause affects drivers in Wisconsin.
In Madison, it's not uncommon to see EV charging stations like this one. But if you can't find these stations in other areas in the state, it could put your battery life on the line.
There was definitely a learning curve.
Sebastian Bisogno got his electric car about a year ago.
I use it mostly in the city.
He says that he finds charging stations in cities no problem, but
going into the rural areas is a bit more challenging. I just went out west of here, driving about 2 hours, and I'm relatively confident that there were no charging areas that I could use.
The Wisconsin Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program aims to address the scarcity of stations in rural areas. But as of February, the federal government put this program on pause.
I think this would have a particularly bad impact on rural areas.
Sam Denisti works for Renew Wisconsin, a nonprofit dedicated to the advancement of renewable energy in the state. He says the program
distributes those stations really well across the state, which means you don't have to worry about going really long distances in between cities before you can charge up.
The program plans to create 53 charging stations along major interstates like I-94 and I-39, in routes in northern Wisconsin, and in more rural areas of the state.
3 stations have been built. Most of them are in western and northwestern Wisconsin. 33 other stations have been contracted.
Sam says that Wisconsin is already behind neighboring states when it comes to EV infrastructure. He says that without the plan in play,
folks are are going to travel to other states and, spend their tourism money or even other kind of commerce money in other states.
With the program, Wisconsin was set to get more than $78 million in federal funding. The state could lose around $55 million that the state has yet to receive.
So I think it really could benefit all of Wisconsin if we can build this EV charging infrastructure.
Reporting in Madison, Meryl Hubbard, News 3 Now.
Thank you, Meryl. Well, the city of Monona wants to help residents get ready for the expansion of Madison Metro and Metro Paratransit there. This Sunday, Monona is holding an information session from 6:30 until 7:30 p.m. at the Public Library Forum Room. Staff from Madison Metro and the Monona Transit Commission will be getting information on the routes running in Monona, as well as key stops and the fares. Residents will have the chance to register, to ride, or ask questions there. And speaking of travel, the Wisconsin Department of Administration says Janesville and Beloit are among 4 communities getting funds for new transit buses. The $11.8 million grants will help the cities replace and scrap those inefficient buses. This is funded by a settlement between the federal government and Volkswagen, where the automaker admitted to cheating on federal emissions tests. As part of that settlement, Wisconsin will receive $67.1 million over the next 10 years. Well, Children's Theater of Madison is receiving a $40,000 grant for its 60th anniversary. The grant is from the Madison Community Foundation. This will help support the hiring of a full-time fundraising professional, much needed. The position will create a sustainability campaign and advancement activities related to CTM's upcoming 60th anniversary.
And so we've been in the community for a very long time. And what we do is we have educational classes that are year-round. And a lot of people see our main stage productions, which we do here at Overture Center, which coming up on February 14th will be Cinderella. So it's going to be an absolutely magical performance.
I'm sure it will. CTM's Cinderella show will play this weekend and then again from the 21st through the 23rd. Tickets can be purchased on the Overture Center's website, and you can find a link to that on channel3000.com. Coming up on News 3 Now at 10, a nationally grocery chain is limiting how many eggs you can buy. And President Donald Trump is implementing more tariffs. We'll tell you what goods are impacted by this new round of taxes up next.
You're watching News 3 Now at 10.
Welcome back, everyone. Trader Joe's has set a limit of 1 dozen eggs per customer per day due to this bird flu. A company spokesperson says this will help stores prevent their shelves from going bare. Bird flu related in the deaths of more than 40 million egg-laying birds in 2024. And Trader Joe's isn't the only retailer attempting to cope with this shortage. Kroger officials say although they haven't officially placed a limit, some stores have done so based on availability. And in the Madison area today, Costco stores were sold out. President Trump has announced new tariffs on all steel and aluminum imports in the U.S. The 25% tax would apply to all countries, including Mexico and Canada. The president promises to implement new import taxes in his second term in order to help U.S. companies boost domestic production. However, economists are warning that tariffs could lead to higher prices domestically.
On the line, we are going to see that tariffs will impact consumers as we essentially have to pay the cost of those taxes that those companies or those importers are paying.
Over the weekend, President Trump also promised what he calls reciprocal tariffs on imported goods in cases where another country has put tariffs on U.S. exports. Also, retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods are already kicking in, with China placing a tax of up to 15% on coal, liquefied natural gas, and crude oil, along with other products. Well, flu cases continue to surge across the country. The latest data from the CDC shows doctor visits for flu illnesses have reached the highest level since 2009. Doctors say that in any given year, up to 41 million people can get the flu, and over 50,000 people could die from the virus.
If you have some sorts of symptoms, how do you know if it's the flu versus just common cold?
Well, in general, the cold symptoms are from the neck and above. The sore throat, the cough, the runny nose, and all that stuff. Once it starts going below the necks and you feel aches and pains and fever, you can have nausea, vomiting.
Wow, well, doctors say it is not too late to get a flu shot. At least 43 states and the District of Columbia are showing very high to high levels of flu activity and even some temporary school closures in some other areas. And some much needed snow is on the way for southern Wisconsin, that's for sure. Meteorologist Blaze Keller has more on the alert day we have coming up.
That's right. Some much needed snow indeed. January, we were definitely in a snow drought. In fact, in terms of precipitation, it was Wisconsin's third driest January in recorded history. So we need to make that up. And we look to get at least some snow here on the ground starting not only tonight, but really into your Wednesday. Snow is going to remain light tonight. And if we take in radar 3000 to where that snow is falling, we have to go into parts of Dodge County, stretching from Iron Ridge back into Beaver Dam, and then a little bit south of Rio, and continuing to see some of that light flurry activity all the way back, possibly into the Mazomanie area. But this is light in nature, and it's likely going to continue to taper off slowly as this little weak line of snow makes its way further south and east. By the mid-morning hours, if not the morning commute time frame, we should be cloudy with a few lingering flurries across southeastern parts of the state. In terms of snow totals tonight, we're looking at best a quarter to half an inch. And this is going to be more of that light fluffy snow in comparison to the wet heavy snow that will be arriving on Wednesday. This system is coming out of the deep south, so it's pulling up moisture out of the Gulf, and it's taking this green path here. It looks to be pretty much staying just along and south of the Ohio River, which is not necessarily where we want it to be. We'd want it to be closer. But what this low is doing with the latest model data is staying closed. It's staying organized, which means that there's going to be a lot of upward motion in the atmosphere. I would really like to see it take more of a northerly trend, but if we can't get it to take the northerly trend, we want it to stay closed. Again, that closed low is really going to ramp up that snow production as it moves through the Midwest. Stretching almost 1,200 miles, winter weather alerts, whether it's a winter storm watch, which does include parts of southeastern Wisconsin, winter storm warning here in the pink, or winter weather advisories. This is going to be on the northern edge of that low pressure system low. So again, the low is going to be somewhere here, but that snow is going to fall obviously to the north where that air is cooler. As we go throughout the morning hours, that snow is going to pick up, and starting in the late morning through at least the mid to late afternoon, those winds are going to be coming off of Lake Michigan. If we can get a slightly northerly trend to get going here, if maybe this low wants to trend back northwards, more of eastern Wisconsin is going to be underneath that influence of those easterly winds coming off of Lake Michigan. So we'll have the double whammy of wet, heavy snow and then that lake effect snow. So that's why our snow totals are anywhere between 3 to 6 inches here across much of southern Wisconsin, the News 3 Now coverage area. Closer to Lake Michigan, you're getting into that at least half a foot of snow, if not more. We'll likely post this on social media for you to share sometime tomorrow, probably in the afternoon. We're still getting the latest data, and when we put out a snow total map, usually the first one is the one that gets shared a lot even after updates come in. So we want you guys to have the latest data and the most accurate data that we can. So when we share this, make sure you're coming back later Tuesday and even into Wednesday for the most up-to-date snow total possibilities. And then we look to the weekend for more snow. We have another alert day for Saturday. And with all that snow, we will be sitting underneath some cooler air to end next weekend and start off next week.
All right, thank you, Blaze. Well, the Milwaukee Brewers unveiled a patch that they'll be wearing on their uniforms to honor longtime broadcaster Bob Uecker. You can see the patch will appear on the sleeve of the team's uniforms, featuring Uecker's signature over a gold and navy plaid print to honor the various sport coats that he occasionally wore. The patch will make its debut when the Brewers' preseason schedule opens February 22nd, pretty soon. Uecker passed away last month at the age of 90. We'll be right back. Welcome back. The Philadelphia Eagles are flying high after their decisive 40-22 victory over the Kansas City Chiefs. The MVP and Eagles coach spoke this morning, and Dana Backus has the wrap from outside the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans.
Eagles quarterback and Super Bowl MVP Jalen Hurts was all smiles the morning after he led his team to victory.
To be able to bring a championship back to Philadelphia. It means everything.
The game wasn't even close.
Intercepted, picked up by Cooper DeJean.
The Kansas City Chiefs had hoped to become the first team to win 3 Super Bowls in a row.
It's intercepted again.
But the Eagles' defense was too much for Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes, who had 3 turnovers and was sacked 6 times.
Ball is out.
Defense did an awesome job yesterday.
Anytime you lose a Super Bowl, it's the worst feeling in the world. They'll stick with you the rest of your career.
Eagles rookie Cooper DeJean broke the game open with an interception he ran back for a touchdown, making it even sweeter. It was his first career touchdown on his 22nd birthday, a birthday he shares with teammate Saquon Barkley.
Be able to hold that Lombardi trophy and do it on my birthday and Saquon's birthday, it's pretty crazy.
President Donald Trump became the first sitting commander-in-chief to attend the game. And Grammy winner Kendrick Lamar delivered a star-studded halftime show featuring actor Samuel L. Jackson, singer SZA, and tennis champion Serena Williams. In Philadelphia, rowdy Eagles fans lived up to their reputation, scaling a truck and set a fire in the street as they celebrated their team's Super Bowl victory. Danya Backus, CBS News, New Orleans.
So on to next year's game, Super Bowl 60. It'll be played at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California. That's the home of the San Francisco 49ers. And we'll be right back. Well, it turns out a little Netflix and chilling out can help build a better relationship. I love this story. Researchers found staying home and watching TV together can provide benefits for close relationships, especially when couples lack shared friends or social networks, clearly. So what are some of the best practices? I love this. Be consistent, so set a time for the show and each other. No devices, so watching your program, stay off your phone. And like other things, communication. So hopefully watching us tonight was a mutual agreement.
Yes, and I've also heard like not watching ahead of your partner just so that you guys can like watch together and enjoy it.
My husband was out of town a week. I did not cheat on like
What's
the
your show?
programs.
What's your guys' show?
Right now, I forget the name of it. I never remember the names.
Okay.
But he remembers the names and everything, so.
Well,
I was a good girl.
Good. Now you guys can watch it together and
Exactly.
yeah. And with the upcoming snow, you guys have all the reason to chill out and just enjoy the snow. Alert day on Wednesday, upwards of maybe 3 inches or more of this wet, heavy snow with higher amounts possible further to the south and east. Stay with News 3 Now. We will keep you updated as we have another alert day for Saturday after Valentine's Day.
Thank you, Blaze, and thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great night.